Hey guys, what it is yo girl Cadillac. There's some Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Open. Cause you got to hold your breath for justice. To see justice before all face too bleak. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. So, anyways, guys, coming through today, October the 26th. Girl, anxiety is setting in. So, I got a bill due tomorrow, girl. That's always horrible. Every other day, some bill is due, right? And that's me watching my paycheck just dwindle away, right? And then also, I have a pressing issue. Y'all know I said I was able to kind of shove it off until Monday. That's that ADHD I told y'all I struggle with. I'm just trying to be transparent and my life be a testimony. So, yes, that's the ADHD I'm struggling with. So, anxiety is starting to set in because there are hours in between. And then plus once I go to sleep, tomorrow will be here even quicker. Girl. So I was sitting there watching. It's a show called it was She the People, but now it changed to Miss Governor. It's a pretty good show. I guess I'm getting back into watching scripted TV, which I have not in a while. Because y'all know I still on my criminal justice reform, prison reform, wrongful convictions, equality, stuff like that. But honestly, that show is touching on a lot of like issues that need to be talked about, but they're doing it in like a funny way, which kind of it's a lighthearted way, which is a lot of times the only way that we can get our message across. Just like my intro when I say I'm holding my breath for justice, it kind of reflects my personality because I am playful, I am lighthearted, but I'm dealing with some heavy issues, right? Heavy issues come along with injustice, right? But sometimes it's the only way that your message will be heard. When you just straightforward, and of course it's going to piss you off, but then when you come off pissed off, then you're just angry and you're just, So that show is pretty good, but and it's shedding light on a lot of things, even though it's through a comedic way, and it's really funny, girl. So I was enjoying that, and then I was like, oh shoot, my to-do list tomorrow. So now I'm ruminating about that and just trying to keep myself calm. So I said, no better way than to calm down is to make a video. So, of course, earlier I told y'all I was going to record a video, but then I went out and about and I do my little digital nomad thing where I just go out and I just record content and I use all the free Wi-Fi's because I have horrible Wi-Fi in the house. So I record my content, upload, I journal, I do a lot. So I started writing out my notes in a video that I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do, but I'm going to try to get to doing some of these topics that I wrote down in my journals. My journals are so filled with ideas and comments and sayings, but I never end up doing anything with them. I kind of just put them in a binder now. I have them on binder like receipt papers, like almost like when I was at the super center and I was writing all them verses and choruses and didn't really have full songs, but I had so many poems and little phrases or lines and stuff. I need to start utilizing them because God gave me those thoughts for some reason, right? So one thought that I was having, I was watching a video yesterday, Danny Collins. Oh, I love Danny Collins. Y'all know last year he was one of my Project Reach the Worlds. Project Reach the World is getting much smaller, I can say. I'm doing less Project Reach the World projects, which is where I do my artwork and I combine it with my story, reaching out to those who I admire, whether they're artists, whether they're the who's who, and whether now they're content creators. I kind of review their content or whatever, their art, their whatever they have, their music, and I draw them. So it's getting much smaller. But last year, Danny Collins was actually my first Project Reach the World of 2024 when we went up to Tallahassee. He had a simulator where it was during session, when session starts, that's when, which is going to be starting pretty soon, where they can introduce new bills become laws, but somehow we never get no criminal justice reform laws passed, and we're way past time for criminal justice reform, but they're somehow able to shelve it each year. But a lot of the thought is because maybe they do that because they just don't really know how this is affecting and impacting real people. Like, people always say the stats of mass incarceration, but I'm actually a face affected by mass incarceration and wrongful conviction. That's really the don't tell nobody that wrongful convictions happen. That's really the hush hush, right? A matter of fact, as I was advocating in a class and they were teaching us how to advocate, they were actually telling us that it would be better to say he's reformed, that he actually did do something and he's just reformed and he's better now from years of being incarcerated. And I'm like, huh? Like, what's better than the truth that he's innocent and that they're putting allegedly innocent people in prison? But anywho, he was doing a simulator showing the things that people have to go through when they get out of jail or prison, how it's not that easy to integrate back into society, and how it really just perpetuates this cycle, recidivism, the cycle, right? So I just love it. I love Danny Collins. Yes. But I was watching a video on him yesterday, and he breaks things down so well. Like, he is very well versed, he speaks well, and he really breaks down the issues with mass incarceration, right? But, and then I also seen him on Africa Diaspora News where they were reviewing, because people are taken aback that a YT guy is actually telling you these stats, right? You're used to people with skin like mine saying, and when we advocate, they call it complaining or playing victim. Like, it's literally it's so aggravating. That's irritating and aggravating all at the same darn time. But it's aggravating that our advocating they consider to be complaining or just playing victim, playing the victim card or whatever you want to say. But when a YT guy comes and says the same thing, that literally, and I don't know how long he's been advocating, but he's been advocating for a less amount of time than I know for me, because he said he had his awakening while he was incarcerated. So he's been advocating for a shorter period of time. But he and others that are YT that are now coming to light and understanding that this system of allegedly of oppression through Rism affects all of us, where justice is an ecosystem. So when you tinker with it and you apply injustice to areas where justice should have been applied, you mess up the justice ecosystem. That's why when you're tinkering over here, you're causing it to not actually be for the causes of correction, and it's for something else. So it's not giving you the result of safety, keeping you safe. This is why you support it, because you want to stay safe. But because of the tinkering with it and throwing off the justice ecosystem, it's not doing what it's intending to do. What it's doing is, like in my situation, it ripped our families apart. I know, even if you want to consider this playing victim, okay, I'm playing victim. Put the victim hat on me. I'm playing victim. It ripped my family apart, and I just want my family back together. You wrongfully incarcerated my husband for 23 years. That's enough. Let him go. Let us make the rest of whatever time we have together in this lifetime, and let us be grandparents together before our grandchildren are grown. Right? That's all I asked. And if that's playing victim, then baby, I got to play that role until they put me in that grave, or until you let my husband go and you give us justice. Right? But I was thinking about that. And then they were reviewing his video on Africa Diaspora News. I love Phil. Yes, I love Phil. But in the comments, they were saying, he ain't saying nothing but what we've been saying forever. Like, girl, ain't like he got some new information. Though he says it so eloquently, I love Danny Collins. You have to go follow him. But he's not saying anything that we haven't said. So I was wondering, like, why is it that when YT people say the same things we're saying, their message is actually heard? And when we say it, it falls on deaf ears. Same words, but it falls on deaf ears when it comes out our mouths. Half of my years of advocating have fell on deaf ears. I don't even feel like, honestly, I don't feel like I've made any impact at all. Even after 24 years now of advocating, I don't feel like I've made any impact on anything, because most of my, like I was telling you, the credibility that, because I'm just a prison wife, I'm just advocating for criminals, I'm just supporting my husband's wrongdoing, when it's none of those things. It's because I don't have that credibility. I don't have that platform. And so it almost feels like your words mean nothing. Okay, so I Googled, and this is the answer that I got of why that is so. Okay, why, when YT people say the same things we say, then people listen? When a YT person says the same things a person of color says and is listened to more, this is often due to systematic bias rooted in historical and cultural dynamic studies and sociological concepts. Point to several factors, including racial prejudice, implicit bias, and a phenomenon known as YT privilege. And you will be gaslit to think that YT privilege does not exist, which it is everything. It holds all this together. But when I or anyone else mentions YT privilege, you're automatically attacked on sight and gaslit, and you're just told you're just being a victim. But it is the basis of so much of the injustice that happens, because the injustices, because of that privilege, which I do have a video, those that refuse to recognize their privilege show up in this world as holier than thous. I too have privileges, but I don't disregard that I don't have the privileges. I recognize their privileges and I am thankful and grateful, and I cannot condemn those that don't have the same privileges. Just like I am privileged to not have a record. That is a privilege. Covering as many wrongful convictions as I've covered of innocent people, just like I'm innocent, and they have spent decades of their lives in prison, I am privileged to not have a record. So with those privileges, there's different types of privileges. There's economic privileges. Maybe you were born and you had an inheritance, or maybe you were born and when you are born with any amount of privilege, you cannot compare where you have gotten with your privilege applied to others that have not been able to get to where you are without that privilege. Some people start at ground, some people start way above, stories above everybody. Some people start at ground level. Many of us start below ground level, and it takes us forever just to get above ground. You cannot compare that person to someone that already came into this world with money, which is an example of privilege, right? And a lot of times the word privilege is taken in a way that it sounds like it's something more added, is something extra you're getting. But a lot of times the privilege is what you don't get, what you don't have to see, what you don't have to witness, what you don't have to go through. Like I talk about the two-tier justice system. It is a privilege to not have to know how the justice system truly works. It is a privilege to fix your mouth to say those comments like I did in one of my last videos about just don't go to prison, and then you can eat for human food allegedly. You can eat whatever you want, just don't go to prison. That could be so simple. That could be a quick fix for someone from your demographic. But allegedly, when that system is target audience, business, target audience, that's all they drilled in us as a graphic designer. Your target audience, your target audience. So when you're that alleged business's target audience, it may not be that simple to just stay out of prison. So a lot of time, privilege is what you don't have to go through, what you don't have to fear, what you don't have to acknowledge, what you don't even have to deal with. Like a lot of times they say, can we just stop talking about slavery? That was so long ago. But not knowing, see, you don't have to know that it's still happening. It was just allegedly rebranded into mass incarceration because your demographic does fall into it. But when you fall into it many times just because of your privilege, you don't get as much time as those that don't have the privilege applied. BLK people get BLK men specifically get 3 to 4 times longer sentences for lesser crimes than any other demographic. That's showing the privilege there. The data is showing the privilege. But then when you read off the data and you're like, so why am I getting more time? And it's always justified by something else. No, it's not because you're BLK. You're always gaslit away from the true answer, allegedly, right? But they're not going to say, yeah, it is because you're BLK. That's why we have to give you 3 to 4 more times. They'll say more so like, oh, it's because they're just so much more violent. It'll be an excuse as to why, but it really boils down. If you peel it back, if you break it down to the lowest common denominator, is because you're BLK. And going through the system, the justice system, everybody will tell you that. They'll tell you a BLK man stands no about this much percent at trial. That's exactly what they told my husband. You have 5% chance of winning at trial. But you tell me trial is fair. So you mean to tell me they have no evidence? They allege he had a weapon. They ain't got the weapon. Your 2 alleged eyewitness victims have changed their testimonies from their sworn testimonies. They conflict each other. You got 3 officers. They're conflicting each other, and they conflict the other 2 victims. They're caught in lie after lie after lie after lie. There's no fingerprints. There's no DNA. There's no evidence. There's nothing linking Marcello Jackson to this alleged robbery, allegedly. But he still has only 5% chance. How? How? If this is fair, you have no evidence. How are you even going to convict him? Well, they know that it is not decided, allegedly, on that. It is decided on, this is a BLK man. He's standing trial. Our officers would not have arrested him, allegedly, if he was not guilty of something. And because we just have this implicit bias that BLK people commit most of the crimes, it's gonna be instilled almost that, and because we engineered him to only have an all-white jury, except for one BLK man, middle-aged man, still not even in his demographic. And once that one BLK man stands up, I forgot to finish that story. It was a wrongful conviction. And when it was overturned, the jury had one BLK man. And in that story, that BLK man was actually trying to say he didn't sit right with that conviction. He don't feel right about that. And they were ganging up on him allegedly to make him basically return the verdict that they wanted. So just because you throw one, basically almost a token BLK juror, doesn't mean you're going to have a fair trial at that point just because there's one there, one represented. How much pull do you think they have? And when they say anything, it's already going to be offset by saying, oh, you're only saying that because he's BLK. Oh, you only feel that way because he's BLK. So if you, as a YT person, don't have to stand on a jury, 12 juries of your peers, and then it be all BLK people and one YT person, that's privilege. That's a YT privilege. You don't have to go through those things. You don't have to pay the exorbitant amount for bail. Bail for BLK men are higher. You know that's not just, allegedly. But you will justify it by saying that's because BLK people are more violent. So me saying these things is just classified as playing victim. So if someone like Danny Collins says it, then it might actually be heard. Okay. It says, implicit bias and credibility. Perceptions of credibility, and that's why I was saying, just because I'm a prisoner's wife, that deletes my N. I'm my Hugh, right? So those are two things that's, kind of, and I don't have a platform, a voice, or anything. So basically, that is taking my credibility down, right? Perception of credibility. Research shows that people's perception of credibility can be influenced by RACE. One study found that people were significantly more likely to believe a speaker was telling the truth when they perceived the speaker to be YT, even when the exact same content was delivered by a person of color. The normal, which it has it in quotes, default is because YTness has long been established as the cultural default in many Western societies. YT individuals are often viewed as the standard. When a YT person speaks, they are less likely to be perceived as representing their entire RACE and instead treated as individual, right? I always say that BLK people are group judged. When one of us do something wrong, we are all group judged together and said, see, that's how they are. When one of us do right, though, then that's when we're individualized. And they say, no, but that's just one. We're not all grouped together in that good sweeping judgment, right? One of us graduates college at the top of our class. We're not all then judged all together and saying, see, that's how those people are. We're always group judged to the lowest. Whoever's at the lowest doing the worst of the worst, that's who we're group judged and categorized as. Whereas many times YT people will be individual. They're treated by their own merits. They're not all group judged by their lowest common denominator, right? All of this is alleged, and all of this is just my opinion. Okay. Likely to be perceived as representing their entire RACE and instead treated as an individual. In contrast, people of color are often scrutinized and judged as representatives of their racial group. Okay, then it says YT privilege. YT privilege describes the societal advantage given to YT people due to their RACE. It operates not as a personal benefit, because that's what they'll come back and say, no, I was poor, I had to work for everything I had, and this and that. That's why I say it's not what you get, is what many times what you don't have to go through. That's what it is. You actually are treated as a human. Many times us as BLK people are not treated as human, honestly, or we're treated as below subhuman, allegedly, especially when it deals with the justice system, or allegedly, like I like to say, the injustice system. It operates not as a personal benefit given to an individual, but as a systematic one that shapes how institutions and individuals interact with them. For example, a person's skin color is not a factor in someone questioning their credit worthiness. Speaking for the marginalized, the dynamic you describe is often related to YT privilege at work. In a conversation, example, when a person of color speaks about their racial experience and is dismissed But a YT person then parrots the same sentiment and receives validation. This reinforces the idea that the words of people of color are less valuable and only gain legitimacy when it's co-signed by someone with more social privilege. The spiral of silence. Suppressed voices. This communication theory suggests that people are less likely to express their opinion if they believe they are in the minority. In conversations about racial inequality, this can contribute to the silencing of people of color when their experiences are dismissed all day, every day. All day, every day, girl. They may eventually stop speaking out, leaving the more dominant view often held by white people. Oh, sorry, YT people. My bad. I'm trying to be YouTube friendly. Held by YT people to prevail. I have to say YT because you know how this is now. We can't say what we need to say, so we have to say certain things so that our videos can be seen, which is so annoying. And I had somebody comment that we're all adults. I know that I'm YT. Like, why can't you just say it? And I'm like, I know. I wouldn't even mind being called BLACK girl. Like, really, that doesn't matter to me. But it's because they don't want us relaying these messages allegedly, so we have to use these terms. So though you know and I know, I still have to go by, if I go against the grain, my video already they don't get seen like that. It really lessens the chance of my stuff being seen. And one thing I forgot to mention, that in the comments, people are like, in that Danny Collins video I was telling you that was on Africa Diaspora News Channel, they was like, so he ain't saying nothing we ain't never said and this and that. Almost like they were kind of getting mad. And I don't take that stance though. I know many times there are YT creators that are saying the same things we say all day, every day. But just as this is telling you, then research is showing that many times our words, just because of who we are falling on deaf ears. So it does take some time. People from that demographic, because they're the ones upholding this alleged system of oppression. So it takes them being bold. And yes, they're getting flack from their own communities for doing this. But it takes them to say it before it is heard. That's just the way. This is the society that we've lived in. And we're trying to move forward. Like they always, why don't you just get over it? Baby, the quicker y'all can take this off of us, not just take the physical chains, take the invisible chains, because y'all only took the physical chains off because you know the invisible chains are keeping us just where you need us, allegedly. So you really don't need those chains anymore. Cut the invisible shackles too, right? Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. Thank you. And then once those invisible shackles are gone, then if we're just complaining and just playing victim, then you can say those things. But I'm sure, baby, we will fly. We will fly high, right? I know I would. And then it goes into media portrayals. Visual reinforcement of bias. Media often reinforces these societal biases. For example, some news reporting has been criticized for using biased language or imagery that depicts when depicting events involving people of color, which can influence how the public perceives their credibility. This can include portraying white individuals sympathetically while focusing on the negative characteristics of people of color. Now, some content creators that really set in on this, and because they do in on this, they're called artists, which they're not. They are showing you the biasness, they're pointing the biasness out. And whenever you point something out, it's that narcissism, right? Remember that video I did, our narcissistic relationship with the justice system. Well, go back to narcissism. Whatever you call a narcissism, they're going to say, no, you do it. No, you do it. Even though you may not have never done that action. But the minute you call someone that has narcissistic disorder, the narcissism, I can't think of the word for it. But anybody that's narcissistic, when you point out a character flaw, they're going to turn the mirror and just say, you do it. And whether it's right or wrong. So because you're pointing out biases or artism, you're then classified as the artist, which makes no sense. But that's how it goes. That's how many times it is disputed and how it is upheld. Okay, understanding these factors shows that the issue is not about words themselves, but about the systematic inequalities and biases that determine who is listened to and who is believed. Many times I do believe that if I was not BLK, mission probably would have been complete. Project Reach the World would have been complete. My husband would have been out of his wrongful incarceration. I really don't think they would have sentenced him so long. Honestly, I don't think they would have gave him 40 years for an alleged robbery of $60. I doubt they would have took that much time. They probably wouldn't have even convicted him. An all-white jury would have looked at instead of Marcello, would have looked at Mark Johnson instead of Marcello Jackson, a 19-year-old young man that just had a baby. They would have seen their grandson. They would have seen their son, their nephew. And when they heard all the lies and inconsistencies and the lack of evidence, they would have felt horrible about throwing away this 19-year-old man's life. And if they had to have sentenced him to something, I really think they probably would have gave him 5 years. Maybe less. Maybe probation. But because he's allegedly BLK and they're more violent, that's all those young BLK boys do. He's seen as a threat, allegedly. And we have to make sure he never does this again when he didn't even do it in the first place. And the judge even said, I want him to feel the weight of what he did every day of his life. But just so he has a second chance at life, I will only give him 40 years. I doubt that would have been so if Marcello was not BLK. But you can tell me I'm being victim. You can tell me it's fair. It's just, I've seen people murk people. YT people murk people and get less time than that. 25. Y'all just watched that Perfect Neighbor. Perfect Neighbor got 25 years. 25 years. Someone is unalived. Marcello hurt nobody. The crime is fabricated. It didn't even happen. Nobody powed, deleted, hurt in any kind of way. But yet he still got more time than her. Matter of fact, she gets out just a couple of years after Marcello. And Marcello has spent his 20s, 30s, and now his mid 40s. And by the time he gets out, he would have spent his whole 40s and the first half of his 50s in prison for $60. $80 because that's how much they lied and said he robbed them allegedly of. And then once Marcello was searched, they only found 60 on him and said, hey, the money don't align. That's when the officers, the good, upstanding, law-abiding officers, gave their sworn affidavit back to them and said, cross that out. Cross out 80. That's not the amount. He has only 60 on him. Write in 60 so it can align. Okay. So we're almost done here. So now in closing, I do have some content creators that are saying many of the things that we've been saying. They are YT, but they have been saying the same things we've been saying. And even though it does irritate you that, hey, why can't you hear what I'm saying? We need the message out anyway. If people are listening to them, just let them say it. Let them say it, girl. But here's some content creators. So we're going to start with Danny Collins. Yes, go follow him. Dixon White. Spelled like my name, Dixon. Jolly Good Ginger. Yes. And Paul for Equality. Some of them are on YouTube and some are on TikTok. Some are on both. Some are on other platforms. But this is my list right here. And Kelly Snyder. Of course, there are many more. And as I come across their channels, I try to, if they're on YouTube, I repost. If they're on TikTok, do the same. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I repost on TikTok and I share to my posts on YouTube. But no matter who the message is coming from, we need this like yesterday. All right, guys, it's your girl Cadillac.